I'm hoping to keep this one brief and just talk about the whole concept of officer integrity in law enforcement. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Eric Mulder here with Covert Conversations. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. And I know that is a big issue today in these days where officers are constantly being scrutinized and criticized, sometimes fairly, sometimes not. And the honesty of the officer comes into question a lot. And we all know that there's a historical root to it, especially in the urban community, in particularly the black community, where cops were just known to do some pretty evil and horrendous things out of blatant racism, blatant hatred. I know a lot of people believe that to be a continuing issue, and there are occasions where that is true, no question. But the numbers clearly demonstrate that that has changed tremendously over the last 50 years. And I did a recent review of a study that was done that clearly demonstrated the reduction in police brutality in the black community by, I believe it was well over 50% over the last 50 years. Don't quote me on those numbers. I plan on posting a link to that, most likely in the comments here, but very soon I'll be going into that in a little more detail. But there's been a clear reduction of that over time. And if all you did was watch the news, in particularly liberal media sources, you would have a different perspective. But the harsh reality is things have clearly improved in regard to the treatment of blacks, people, minorities in general, by law enforcement. And when the numbers are examined, that is an undebatable fact. However, there are times where the integrity of the officer does justly come into question. There's a case right now in Chicago, or as a result of the aftermath of the Laquan McDonald case, where there are 4 officers who are accused of basically giving false information. And that's a short summary without me getting into all the details. I don't know all the facts. I don't know all the details of it. I haven't studied it enough, so I'm not going to go into tremendous detail. And this is just me being real, being completely honest. It can be difficult being forthright, being straightforward and being honest in an investigation where you're looking at another officer, and sometimes a friend, who might be under investigation, because we understand how stressful it can be. We understand how we all have bad days where you could be dealing with a suspect or an inmate, and he may catch you at a bad day where all the stresses of the day, or you might be dealing with somebody who's just been a thorn in your side or just been getting under your skin time and time again, and he says the wrong thing and you flip and you slip and you say the wrong thing, or you instead of just simply taking him into custody, you throw an extra punch here or there, or you put the cuffs on him a little extra tight just to make it, just to feel like get a little revenge, just to make him feel uncomfortable. Now, where I can understand the quote unquote satisfaction from that, we have to understand in the law enforcement industry, we are held to a higher standard. We go through all the training that we do because we operate on behalf of our local government, on behalf of the state, and therefore we are called to a much greater standard, whereas the average everyday citizen might be able to get away with saying certain things. We're expected to operate better than that because we represent the law. So, and then on top of that, we can also be under the stress of not wanting to rat out quote unquote snitch out one of our friends, one of our co-workers, one of our brothers or sisters in blue. We could not want to be that guy. And whereas that may be tempting to do that, we have to understand, how can we properly represent law enforcement? How can we properly represent the law if we ourselves think that there might be an occasion where we're justified in operating outside of that? I'm gonna try to continue on with this video. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Got a guy cutting the grass behind me. And I don't want to say this as in a way of coming across as if, I always operated perfectly and above reproach and never made any mistakes in judgment or anything like that. Once again, I cannot reiterate strongly enough how important it is for us, for those of you who are currently in law enforcement, your credibility, the public trust. If we don't have that, then we basically don't have much of anything. Now, is there a distortion of understanding of law enforcement work that's prevalent in our society today? Absolutely. But I think that should cause us to want to help explain, help people understand. Now, there are going to be people who have their opinions made, and they don't care. And regardless of what you say, what you show them, they hate law enforcement, and there's nothing you can do to change their mind. And you can try to talk to some of those people if you want to, and maybe down the road, maybe they might be rational enough to possibly even consider your thoughts. But for those out there who are maybe those people who are in the middle ground, who don't really know, who see some things on TV that might be a little questionable to them and they don't know, those are the people you should seek to reach and explain and help them to try to understand better the questionable aspects of police work, the questionable aspects of a police use of force. But that should never compel us, that frustration we get with the culture and politicians that basically justify hatred and rebellion and lawlessness towards law enforcement. It should cause us to want to rise up and live and work more righteously, and not stoop to that level of carelessness. And I just want to encourage my brothers and sisters out there in blue, so to speak, in law enforcement. I'm no longer in it anymore. By God's grace, I was able to do about 20 years between my corrections work and my time in the streets and in different functions and in the different capacities that I did work. And I was able to basically keep my nose clean for the most part. Not perfectly, but for the most part. Never really had any major investigation on me as far as force being used or anything like that. Thank God for that. But the best way to go about doing that is to be sharp with your skills, which I always talk about. The more skilled you are tactically, the less likely you'll be careless and the less likely you will be to use excessive force. Understand that words can't really hurt, even though nowadays, like in our culture, there's some that say words are violence, which is ridiculous. Words really can't hurt. And some people are looking for a lawsuit. You always have to understand that. And by being dishonest and untruthful when questioned, whether it's you or when someone else who might be in the vicinity of you, another officer on a similar call or something that you have observed, truly pounding it into your head that if you violate the trust, violate the rights of another individual, the impact that has on law enforcement in general, not just you, but on your entire agency, on other officers all over the country. So understanding the overall ramifications of your individual actions, especially in the times that we're living in today. I hope you guys understand that my heart in this, and I hope that you're blessed by this, and that you would just consider your actions and do the best you can while you're out there. All right, guys, take care. God bless.